Next step is to assemble the voice coil. We have our dish. Our magnet setup is all ready. Now what I've done is put a paper tube inside the voice coil that I've wrapped. We're now going to take the paper tube and put it in over the magnets, as such. Then take the voice coil, slide it down to about halfway down the coils in the magnetic zone. So we're going to go down to about that far, because the speaker cone is going to go up and down, and we want it right in the middle of that range of travel, as you can see there. The next step is we're going to take the spider, which is the flexible part here, and we're going to pass it over this and down. We're going to pull these wires up through and then pass them up through. We're going to put glue on this, or down here at the base of the voice coil. And I'm going to put glue on the bottom edge of this and also in the bottom of the speaker cone here. Okay, we have now smeared along the contact cement along the inner rim here. We've also put contact cement on the white section just above the voice coil. And we've also put it on the spider assembly, this edge here and in the center here. And this is, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's serrated on the edges all the way around so that it can flex upwards and take the shape of the voice coil support. We're going to pass these wires up through the hole because they're going to be passing above it. And then we're going to slide this down with the wires through. We're going to hold the wires up so that we don't wind up pushing the voice coil all the way to the bottom. It needs to stay up in the midsection. Okay, the spider has now been mounted. The lower section has been glued to the bottom of the bowl with contact cement, and I forced it down over the paper tube and onto the voice coil. You can see the upper edge of the paper that supported the voice coil around the edge. I put additional contact cement around the edge, but be careful not to get it on the paper tube, because we're going to have to withdraw this paper tube when we're all done. This is what keeps the coil centered and away from the edges. The spider will keep the entire assembly centered in all directions. However, what it won't do is take care of any rocking motion like this. You could still strike, but that's what the cone is going to do. When we mount this cone up in here, now the assembly cannot tip either way and strike the magnet, and it can't move from left to right. So this is how speakers are supported internally. Prior to putting the cone on, we're going to have to lay out the wiring. I have glued with contact cement again each of the fine wires out to 2 terminals. They were clipped and then sanded the enamel off the wires. As you can see how I have attached them. You want to make sure it's fully glued down here, no loose wires. This is going to vibrate, and we don't want these wires to break. Everything needs to be secure. And we have a nice set of good terminals. And so things don't come apart, I put a little bit of glue in the thread on each of these before tightening. Also glue on the inside as well. So we don't want these coming loose. Once the cone is over this, we no longer will have access to the back of these screws. But we're doing cardboard, and it's working very well. Now I've put a very large bead of contact cement around the hole, but not down the middle here on these tabs, because this is going to have to slide down the paper here, and we don't want to get glue on that. We want to be sure that this is going to be able to come out easily when we're all done. We need to withdraw that. I also put a bead of contact cement around the center of the spider here and up against the voice coil. What I'm going to do next is to slide this down. This is actually a lot easier than you realize. Right down on the center paper. Glides very easily. Right down. Just give it just a light press. Want to make sure that it's all level on all sides. It's not crooked. As you can see, it has come down to meet the spider. You can see that inside there. And just let this sit and dry. Now the center of the speaker cone will need a small cap that covers the very center. I just made that, just cut a piece of paper, Cut a circle out of it about the size of a quarter, slot it, and we'll curl it up like this, curl up strongly, and then it'll kind of hold its shape. So we have a little paper cone. A little contact cement on that, glue that up, and that will go in the center of our speaker. This keeps debris and so forth from getting to the magnet. Now we need to attach the surround. This is all now fully dried. What we now need to do is turn it over and then hold it through the holes, and then just look at it from the back and then trim to make sure it's even all the way around with a pair of scissors. Then along the edge of the bench, we'll just lay this on the edge, and we'll put on some more contact cement. We can't go to the middle of the bench because we still have this paper tube sticking out here. And then we're going to roll it up like pinching a pie crust. Push it up so that it has a loop in it, and we do that all the way around. Be careful not to wind up doing stress and walking it around. Do a little on this side, this side, this side, alternate back and forth randomly, so you don't wind up coaxing the cone off to one side. I've partially attached this around. I just wanted to show you the method I was using. I just attached it at just space points going around, and then I'll continue to collapse it further each time, working myself in to finer and finer divisions. Final step will be to remove the paper tube, which has kept everything on center the whole time. I'm going to pull this out. Some resistance. Bingo. Now let's see if this technique really worked well. Does this cone move up and down? Look at that. With the cone removed out of the center, or the paper tube, we're going through and we're gluing that edge that we didn't have really good access to, just to make sure that it's very properly attached. Don't want to get any glue running down the inside of that cone, because we don't want to glue the magnet to the speaker coil. Won't work too well. But I'm going to continue to goop up the inside of this. Be sure that you don't let the screwdriver grab you on the magnet. Now we're going to take and put the little center in. We're going to glue that right in. And there is a kick-ass speaker that's probably better than anything you'll find out there on YouTube. We are now done. This is our speaker. This is an 8 ohm speaker, mid-range. We have not tested it yet, but this is made of any materials that anybody can make this speaker. So if you're doing a science project or some other demonstration and you're willing to put the effort into it, you can make something that really kicks butt.